Welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, where we do unfortunately need to talk about injuries. We're going to have a full update. Barça aren't even playing, but we've got to discuss it because today we're going to be talking about Frenkie de Jong. We're going to be talking about Gavi and we're going to be talking about Ronald Araújo, plus his kind of situation with Raphinha last night. And we're going to have a closer look today at how pre-season is shaping up for Hansi Flick and the challenges that he already faces as the Barça coach. It is all on the way, guys. Happy Sunday to you all, and let's do this. But if we do, first of all, begin with a super thanks coming in. Really appreciate the support here on the channel. Thank you very much. And it's a reaction there to yesterday's video when we spoke about those extraordinary Lionel Messi and Lamine Yamal photos, and clearly that is a footballing god baptizing Lamine Yamal. But let's kick on here with Ronald Araújo. Let's start there, because honestly, the Uruguay-Brazil game in Copa America last night, quarter-final it was explosive, as you may well imagine. And let's start with his situation with Raphinha, because even before the game, actually, Raphinha was asked there in a press conference with Brazil, are you going to speak with Araujo, you know, your teammate at Barcelona? Are you going to talk with him before the game, after the game? And Raphinha there was basically already in battle mode. He was already ready for the fight against Uruguay, and he basically said, I don't like talking to rivals. He was saying there, look, anybody on Uruguay's team, I have to see them as my rivals right now. And that sort of spilled over into the game, because as you'd imagine, things got quite heated. Ronald Araújo there actually barged into the back of Endrick, of course, the young 17-year-old forward, and he was basically giving him a pretty quick introduction into exactly what Copa America is all about. It's tough. It is certainly a physical battle out there, and Araujo did barge into the back of Endrick. Now, obviously, a lot of Endrick's teammates didn't like that. They tried there to leap to his defence, and one of those did happen to be Raphinha, who I think felt as though there he wasn't only Endrick's teammate at Brazil, but he was one of the more senior players in the squad. And he's a young kid, of course. Maybe he felt as though, I've got to defend him. Now, he went up to Araujo. He sort of pushed him. You know, there was a little coming together. It was literally nothing, guys. Now, Araujo actually went down. I don't know whether he wasn't expecting Raphinha to push him or come up to him, whatever. But obviously, there's a bit of a scuffle there. All the players then got involved and things got out of hand. But at the end of the day, I don't think we need to look too far into this here. You know, Raphinha and Araujo, they weren't fighting each other. This was Uruguay against Brazil for a place in the Copa America Final Four. Of course, tensions are going to be high. Players are out there playing for their countries, playing for the badge on the shirt. You've got to respect that. They are going to be giving everything in that moment, and you're going to forget the club loyalties for the time being. So I wouldn't read too much into that. For me, the much bigger problem at hand here is what happened 15 minutes later when Ronald Araújo yet again, goes off injured. I mean, we have seen this so many times, really so many times, and again, it's really worrying because there wasn't even a collision. It wasn't as though it was a coming together, it was a really hard blow, a big knock, it was nothing at all like that. It was one of those where there's no contact on him, and those can be some of the worst, scariest injuries around, because he actually lunges there to block a cross coming in, and something just goes. You know, he gives way there, he's on the floor, he's clearly in a lot of pain, and he's got to go straight off there, and Araujo was actually in tears upon leaving the field, and that certainly really does make me scared. Now, Javi Miguel, who can be sort of hit and miss when it comes to injuries, timelines, things like that, he's the only one that's come out right now with an update. He says that on the face of it may be 6 to 8 weeks out for Ronald Araújo. This could be an injury there that potentially could keep him sidelined for around 2 months of action. It's a potential hamstring injury, and that looks like quite a serious one, I've got to say, guys. We've got to wait and see here. You know, there's not too many reports right now. Further tests are going to be done on Araujo, but it's just a nightmare scenario. It's a nightmare situation just after what happened to Pedri. Now, losing Araujo. Now, both players are already in a race for the new season. For the start of the new season, both players there are behind now in trying to reach that first game, and that really hurts me because the season hasn't even started yet. Forget that, we haven't even got the pre-season. Hansi Flick here hasn't even had the opportunity to work with his players, to bring in new methods, to look there at the fitness side of things, to bring in the new medical staff, for them to have any effect. And already, Barcelona players on international duty, they are dropping like flies. And what have we done? What have we done to deserve this? Because unfortunately, guys, I'm not even done there. I'm not even finished yet. That is the other problem here. Because now let's come on and talk about Frenkie de Jong, who first of all was in attendance last night as the Netherlands beat Turkey to reach the semi-finals of the Euros. They will be facing England, and Frenkie actually there was sat alongside former Barcelona player Edgar Davids. And there was also behind him, you might have a closer look at that there, it is Wolverine sat just casually behind them as well. So Frenkie in good company there, and it was also good to see him actually celebrating with the rest of his Dutch teammates in the dressing room after the game. Of course, he's still really hurting that he had to miss this tournament, that he couldn't be part of it with the team, but he is still very much a big figure in the Netherlands dressing room. So nice to see him there enjoying those moments. But I do want to talk about a few concerning reports that we have just started to hear about Frenkie de Jong's condition right now, about that ankle problem, because we know for most of 2024 he's been struggling with ankle difficulties there. He's had sprains, he's had times there where he's been out for a few weeks, come back, then he's had another ankle problem. It's something that remains a real headache for the club, and really the best way to actually treat it, because what we're hearing right now on Frenkie de Jong is that there is a danger he may not be ready for pre-season training. He could actually miss Hansi Flick's Barça pre-season training. The club are finding his ankle problems difficult to treat and potentially very difficult to prevent from becoming chronic. He continues to this day to feel discomfort in the ankle region, and that makes it really difficult right now to put a concrete timeline on exactly when he could return. And again, it's a terrible scenario. This is absolutely not good for us, because you've got two players here. Let's talk here about Frenkie and about Araujo. Different reasons as to why this is so damaging. Number one, Hansi Flick has actively outlined them. He has highlighted these players as key in his project at the club, pillars of his new era at Barcelona. He wanted Araujo, he wanted Frenkie at the heart of his team. Now these two players, like I say, are in a race to reach the start of the new season, but it's also really difficult for the club now economically, behind the scenes there, at boardroom level, because you've also got these two players in Araujo and Frenkie whose contracts are running down every day. They expire in 2026. Next summer, they will both enter the final year of their deals, and these kinds of injuries, they're not really helpful, because obviously you want to pay both of these players what they deserve. They are quality, they are top players in their positions. You want to give them what they feel that they're owed, which is big salary, big earnings, high profile players. But at the same time now, you do have to take these injuries into account. You do have to say at the same time, well, both players there are struggling physically, there are problems there that certainly affect their value, and it's a knock-on effect as well, because even if the club, for instance, wanted to cash in on them, you know, this summer, next summer, whenever it may be, every other club in the running too would be looking at the same situation, and their values now as players have been affected by these injury problems, and especially because they continue to happen. So right now what we're seeing at Barca is a complicated situation. It is not ideal. This is not good news for Hansi Flick to have right here, but let's try and find a positive, because let me talk about Gavi. Let's try and find something here, because it was nice to see Gavi, Ansu Fati and Alejandro Balde, all of them together, spending some time away on their vacations as a group there. Really nice to see those three having a good time together. Now, Ashraf Benayad, who's a very, very reliable journalist when it comes to Barca news, he says that Gavi should return to full training with the group in about 2 months' time. Now, obviously, that's not tomorrow, you know, it's not that soon, but at the same time, it's just good to kind of hear now more and more concrete reports on when Gavi's going to be back. So right now we're looking at around September when he can rejoin the group at Barcelona, and I would estimate from there maybe 1 month or so to get him back into the swing of things, because obviously once he comes back to training with the group, he's not going to be launched into a match. It's been a long, long time since he's played. We're going to introduce him very, very slowly. It's not going to be a speedy process, but I think we're looking right now again at October for Gavi, November at the very, very latest, and the best news on that is that he is doing well. He's in good spirits, he's recovering well, he is going to be back with the group in around 2 months' time, and then we can look forward to his return. But What about pre-season though? You know, how are things looking right now for Hansi Flick? He's come into a brand new job, he's got so many players here that he wants to have a look at. What kind of squad is he going to have to choose from in pre-season to get a real understanding of what he needs to do as the new coach? Because there's absolutely fantastic super thanks coming in here from Varun, who's basically highlighted some of the issues that we're going to have for many different reasons, and particularly when looking at midfield, because yeah, there's going to be no Gavi due to injury, there could be no Frenkie de Jong in pre-season, no Pedri, then you've got Fermin Lopez away at the Olympics. Don't forget as well that Pau Kubasi is also going to be missing for pre-season. Oriol Romeo is indeed on the transfer list. Roberto still very much uncertain what's going to happen with him, and Pablo Torre not really expected to be part of the plans at Barca. So quite a few there, midfield players that are going to be missing, senior players that will not be involved, and I think it is going to be a real opportunity for lots of up-and-coming players there to really make an impact in the first team. I would certainly look at Marc Casado indeed. There's also going to be maybe opportunities for Marc Bernal. He's another one that's very, very highly rated there coming through at Barcelona. Pau Prim, always been really excited to have a look at him. And I would also certainly highlight as well, looking at the more advanced midfield area that Hansi Flick will certainly have as part of his system. What about Noah Davic? We have mentioned him on several occasions here on the channel, and I think even more so now, he is definitely going to be involved in pre-season. He may actually end up having quite significant minutes, and Hansi Flick will have a real good chance to assess what he can bring to his team. So right now, guys, Barca do have problems. We do have injury concerns even before Flick has had time to work his magic. But of course, when one door closes at Barca, and especially with younger players coming through, we always know that one is never far away from opening. So just let me know, guys, in the comments down below, what do you make of the Araujo situation, the injury last night, the coming together with Raphinha? What do you make of these reports on Frenkie de Jong? And which players do you believe could really emerge in pre-season because of some of these injury problems? Let me know all those thoughts down below. Thank you indeed, guys, for tuning in and for all of your support. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch you soon. But until next time, as always, Vejka, El Barça.